Hi, thanks for tuning in today. My name is Luane. Today we're going to talk about interest rates. And I know we've heard a lot about interest rates going up, and there's a lot of people who are concerned about what the real estate market is or isn't doing. If you like learning about real estate, then you're going to want to subscribe to my channel because there just might be some stuff here that will be of interest to you. The interest rates right now are still below the average. The average interest rate for all the time they've been keeping track of interest rates has run between 7 and 8%. Right now, interest rates are about 6. They did drop a little bit earlier this week. So right now is a great time still to get in and get under the average interest rate. We can't talk about 2021. We can't talk about 2022. We can only talk about 2023, and this is where we are right now. But let me tell you a little story about how that can work in your behalf. And this is my story. Back in the early 80s, when I got married and my husband and I started to buy a new home, we were looking at homes. Interest rates, believe it or not, were pushing 19%. I mean, that's like putting your house on a credit card, right? So a lot of people advised us not to buy. Oh, you might as well just rent for a while. Interest rates are so high. And they've been high. I mean, at that point, they had been going up through all the 70s, as far as I knew. I mean, I wasn't paying attention to the interest rates when I was a teenager, but that was pretty much the case. We ended up purchasing a $43,000 home for 12% interest.
What? This is an outrage!
Yeah, it was pretty high, but this is how this worked for us. We purchased the home, we lived in it about 5 years, and interest rates dropped, and they finally hit about 7%. And that was the point where we said, okay, we're going to refinance. So we refinanced our house. Well, when our home was appraised at that point, we had already gained $25,000 in equity. So we refinanced our home, and we also decided to drop the term of our mortgage from 30 years to 15 years, which was really smart. I don't know how we got so smart.
Smart. I am too smart. I am too smart. S-M-R-T.
Smart. But anyways, we decided to do that because our payment was really, going down to nothing. And we had adjusted, even though moving from an apartment to a house, there were more expenses, a few more expenses with the house, and there were, the house payment itself was a little bit more. And of course, we were doing a lot of renovations because our home was 40 years old when we bought it and needed a lot of updates. But we went ahead and moved that interest rate down and cut our terms in half. And how that worked out for us was that late 90s, like 1997, we decided to build a home and move here to Grand Blanc, Michigan. And interest rates were still in the 7s. They were still in a lower interest rate. What happened in that 12-year period is our house more than doubled in value. That's right. We paid $40,000, $43,000 for it. We sold it for just under $100,000. We owed very little on it because we'd already paid for 5 years on the 12% interest mortgage. We'd been paying for 6 years on a 15-year mortgage. So it was darn near half paid off from that mortgage. We walked away with a really nice little check in our hands to go into our next house with, which was fantastic. Now, but the point is that we would have never made that equity in our home had we not purchased when we did. If we'd waited for the interest rates to go down, we would have made $25,000 less at least, because that was how much our home had increased at the time that we bought it. So let's say it was 43, so now it was appraising for between 65 and 70,000. And then over the next 6 years, that increased to almost 100,000. My advice to you is marry your house, date the interest rate.
I now pronounce you sponge and squirrel.
Interest rates are going to go up and they're going to go down. Anytime that they get down a couple percentage points below what you're paying, that's a good time to take a look at what it's going to cost you and how long are you going to live there. Now, in our case, when we refinanced, we knew that we weren't going anywhere anytime quickly. We loved our home. We liked where we were. We're there another 5 or 6 years. And so the thing to remember is that if you don't make the purchase, you can't realize the appreciation. So buy the home that you can comfortably afford and watch and wait for those rates to go down. In 2019 to now, homes have appreciated like 33%. So the people who owned real estate between now and then, they've already made 30% on their purchase. So on a $100,000 or $200,000 home, that's a $60,000 increase in what you paid for the home. So in order to get the appreciation, you got to make the purchase. And sometimes we have to do that when interest rates are not at their most favorable. None of us have a crystal ball. We don't know where interest rates are going this year or next year. All we know is where they've been. And I can tell you that the last couple of years, they have been artificially low. So if you own a home and you buy at a little bit higher interest rate, you're going to see some pretty good appreciation and a return on your investment. And that's how you get on the property ladder.